Let's move on to the CIA asset, Osama bin Laden. The mainstream media conditioned people that Osama bin Laden was the mastermind of the September 11th attacks. Tim Osman was the name assigned to Osama bin Laden by the CIA for his tour of the U.S. and U.S. military bases. There is some evidence that Tim Osman visited the White House. There is certainly evidence that Tim Osman toured some U.S. military bases, even receiving special demonstrations of the latest equipment. Why hasn't this been reported in the major media?
He's pretty much a patsy or a mole. He took the blame for the attacks, but I really don't think that a guy in a cave with a computer could have NORAD stand down and could beat a billion-dollar defense system.
That the Osama bin Laden appears to have had nothing to do with
it. Help me out here. Having been involved in a couple of controversial undertakings over my years in government service, how many people in the government were part of this conspiracy that you envision? Hundreds, thousands?
No, Ollie. I think it's a small number. You know about classified, controlled operations where everything's compartmentalized. Yeah. Do you know, Ollie, that the FBI has confirmed that they have no hard evidence relating Osama bin Laden to the events of 9/11? Are you aware of that?
Well, Osama bin Laden himself claims that. I mean, they didn't manufacture those tapes.
This is the FBI, Ollie. This is the FBI that has affirmed in the last couple of weeks they have no hard evidence tying Osama bin Laden to 9/11.
When you're down there, Dan, you hear smaller secondary explosions going off every 15 or 20 minutes.
Now to one of 9/11's biggest smoking guns, Building Number 7. Most people are uninformed or do not even know about Building Number 7. Building 7 was not hit by any aircraft and only had moderate fires burning but collapsed in the exact same manner as a controlled demolition. It fell with a classic controlled demolition kink in the middle. There are hundreds of examples of this kink in controlled demolitions. They do this to pull the building in on itself. Building 7 was located across the street from the World Trade Center towers. This building collapsed at about 5:20 p.m. into a perfect little pile, not even damaging buildings right next to it. In February of 2002, Silverstein Properties won $861 million from industrial risk insurers to rebuild on the site of WTC-7. Silverstein Properties' estimated investment in WTC-7 was $386 million. So this building's collapse resulted in a profit of about $500 million.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
Controversial theory, Stephen Jones. He's a professor of physics at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. Professor Jones, thanks for coming on.
Sure, thanks, Tucker.
Well, just sum up this, obviously, your theory, just the one sentence that I just explained in the intro, contradicts what we all think we know about how these towers collapsed. Quickly sum up your explanation for what happened.
Let's start with the collapse of Building 7. Can you roll the video clip that I sent to you?
Okay, I'm not sure if we can, but to specify, that is World Trade Center Building Number 7,
try it.
Smaller than the other two, was not hit by a plane, of course, yet it collapsed.
Right. It's 47 stories.
That's right.
24 steel columns in the center.
Right.
Trusses asymmetrically supported. Now, I can't see what you're seeing, so
we just
see that?
No, we just see the building. And just so our viewers know, the explanation that I think is conventional is that there was a large tank of diesel fuel stored in the lower level of that, which caught fire, and the resulting fire collapsed the building.
Well, that's basically it, yeah. But as we read in the FEMA report, it says here, and I put this in my paper, of course, the best hypothesis, which is the only one they looked at, fire, has only a low probability of occurrence. Further investigation, analyses are needed to resolve this issue, and I agree with that.
Okay.
But they admit there's only a low probability. And if you look at the collapse, you see what I've studied is the fall time, the symmetry, the fact that it first dips in the middle, that's called the kink, which is very characteristic, of course, of controlled demolition.
So who'd they get to investigate all this? The National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the United States, also known as the 9/11 Commission, was set up in late 2002 to prepare a full and complete account of the circumstances surrounding September 11th, 2001. Chaired by former New Jersey Governor Thomas Keane, the commission was comprised of 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans. The commission was created by congressional legislation, with the bill signed into law by President George W. Bush. And they were only given $3 million to investigate the events. $3 million? You have to ask yourself, were they given $3 million to investigate it, or were they given $3 million to whitewash it? On Sunday, March 13th, the New York Times broke a major story outlining how the Bush administration has used millions of dollars of taxpayer money to produce fake news programs that support a partisan political agenda. But the National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the United States was only given $3 million to investigate 9/11. In addition, William Rodriguez, who had worked as a janitor in the World Trade Center for 20 years, reported he was in the basement of the North Tower when he heard what he describes as a large explosion on sublevel B3, seconds before he heard the sound of the plane hitting. Although he testified to the 9/11 Commission, the Commission's report made no mention of his testimony or the explosions.
If you've seen many of the managed demolitions where they implode a building and they cause it essentially to fall vertically because they cause all of the vertical columns to fail simultaneously, that's exactly what it looked like, and that's what happened.